Hey guys, Paul from Ashen. This is New Comic Book Day for the week of April 20th, and we're going to get started right now. This episode brought to you by Paul and Tim. Do a thing. We do a thing.
Hey guys, Tim from Team Ashen, the comic book store, Capes and Scowls podcast, and Paul and Tim do a thing. You already know all that. Let's talk about trades. I got a bunch. It's not bad. Nice little pile. We got Amazing Spider-Man Beyond Volume 3. This is the introduction of the Goblin Queen. And, pretty strong story that starts winding down the series. We got A Thing Called Truth. You read this, right, Paul? Thing Called Truth? You did issue 1.
Yeah, I did issue number 1.
You enjoyed that, right?
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Dune, House Atreides, Volume 3 hardcover. The Dune stuff has been... Did I say Doom? Dune has been very good. I don't know if I said that right. Who cares? It's been good. Feels good. If you enjoyed the movie, definitely check it out. Cloud Town. This is a pretty interesting looking book. I believe it's a young reader book, but it's weird. It's about clouds. That means I didn't read it. The art's awesome. We've got Marvel's multiverse role-playing game. There's a playtest version of their new RPG system, which is kind of cool. So if you want to be Groot and punch somebody in the face, you now can. We've got Vinyl. I reviewed issue 1 of this. This book is wild. The same people who did Plastic, if my brain remembers correctly. Good stuff. We got Reign of X, which is terrible. Don't read books like this. I hate the way they put those together. It's awful. Deceased Dead Planet is in this format now. I already thought it was. Whatever. Sandman, book 2. Yes, your eyes don't deceive you. We did a Sandman last week. I guess they're just re-releasing the whole thing super quick. The art is really cool on this new version, which is about twice as thick as the old ones.
First up, we have Slumber, issue number 2. Man, this issue just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Basically, the concept is you have a woman who hunts dreams in an attempt to find the nightmare that ruined her life. And this is kind of the fallout of the end of book number 1, as the person who is kind of heading up the investigation to find out who this person is being controlled by the demon that she's been trying to kill the entire time. And yeah, life is not going well for him. And this is just a really good book. It's very, very interesting. It's really kind of a fun book, but there's very real consequences and very bad things that happen in it. So, like, while there is humor, it is against this backdrop of very much horror. But it's a really good book. You should definitely check it out.
All right. Well, both my books are really good. Like, really good. But I'm going to start with Captain America number 0. This features both Steve and Sam doing Captain America things at the same time. They are fighting Armin Zola. He is great. Essentially, he has created a rocket. He is going to do something silly that's going to turn us all into dinosaurs kind of thing. And it's just them fighting their way through this rocket, fighting multiple versions of him. It's really good. The humor is here, which you don't always get, but it's good interaction between the two of them. They kind of joke who's going to get astounding Captain America, who's going to get uncanny Captain America. There's some good stuff in here. But it actually is really full of action. A lot of action, which was fun. I love Armin Zola. He's a great villain. And there's so many cool versions of him in this because they're fighting him in multiple forms in the rocket. If you haven't been reading Cap, it seems like a good place to jump back in. Both Sam and Steve are going to still have ongoing titles separate of each other. I don't know how much crossover there'll be, but if you're going to check out one or both of those, you should definitely start with this.
And my pick of the week, it is Earth Prime, Superman, and Lois. Basically what this series is creating the Arrowverse, the CW Arrowverse, and putting it in book form. So this is the Superman and Lois series, and it reads obviously very much like Superman and Lois. It is basically just a really sweet one-off storyline with a backup story that I think arguably might be a little bit more interesting as far as what's going on. But it's basically why Superman and Lois celebrate their wedding anniversary 4 days after their actual wedding anniversary. And it's just a really sweet book. The second one is an alternate world. And you know how I love alternate reality versions of the DC, where it's basically Superman, but before he was able to become the Clark Kent that we know and love, both his parents were killed, and he ended up going to a foster home. And bad things happen to him, and when he does eventually find his Fortress of Solitude, he is not the same Clark Kent that we expect, and that leads to problems. So, yeah, really interesting story. But, yeah, this is fun. If you like Superman and Lois, which is an amazing, solid series on the CW, then you'll love this book.
All right, time for my pick of the week. Paul, what's my pick of the week?
No idea.
That's not true. You do know.
I do know.
Because it's 420, so I read The Secret History of the War on Weed. This book is a comedy, so you know. It has a bunch of facts on the front and back pages, but beyond that, they basically say, once you turn the page, this is just a weird, silly story. It is written by Jerry Dugan and Brian Posehn. It has that Brian Posehn comedy on it. It feels like a Mr. Show sketch. So funny. It takes place in the 80s, and your main character is Scotch. He is an Arnold Schwarzenegger clone, and he just murders whatever the United States points him at. They eventually point him at the war on drugs, and he ends up kind of liking drugs, and then they all have to go and attack him. So what we end up with is a pretty silly book with some laugh-out-loud moments. I was laughing pretty hard. The jokes are pretty solid. There's a narrator that is really great, and I don't know, man. You just have to read this. There's activity pages. Like, this is the kind of silly I can totally get behind. It's solid, good stuff. So, regardless of how you feel about marijuana on 420, this book is amazing and you should read it. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you for checking out all our stuff. If you want to check out more, Paul and I have another channel where we watch videos, and I'm still pretty mean to him. He's also on Twitch. There's a lot of other things. I've got my podcast, Capes and Scowls, and that's about it. Paul, what do you think? Everybody good? Have a good 420. Be responsible.
Yeah.
Be mindful of people like Paul who are allergic, and it will murder him.
Yeah, don't murder me. Murdering me is bad.
Yeah.
These videos kind of end if that happens.
Man, if these ever ended for any reason and we don't explain it, that'd be pretty awesome. They just assume you're dead.
Well, I mean, the day after tomorrow, when it becomes legal in New Jersey will become a hellscape for me. So, like,
that's true. Oh well, sorry, Paul. Bye, everybody.